Hello, guys. What's up? It's me, Roy. It's been a while since the last time I was here, but today I'm back with such an amazing and incredible guest. I'm so excited right now because I'm here today with the musician who just released a very, very amazing, incredible, and awesome song and a very, very catchy song, I would say. G2G, Juno Mamba. I'm so sorry, I'm bad at pronouncing names. Is that how you pronounce the name? Is
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah, perfect.
cheers, man. All right. Anyway, how is it going?
It's good. Here in Australia, it's cold. It's winter right now, but everything's good. Lots of music to come out. Feeling good.
Great, great. I mean, great for you. It's a bit cold over there, but it's very, very hot. It is humid. I don't even know how to describe it. It's like a very, very hot. Anyway, first of all, I'd want to say congratulations on the release of the song. It's really a very, very amazing. I'd say amazing a lot because it is very amazing. It's a very amazing experience listening to it. But there's some people who may not like may have not listened to it. Can you tell us what the song is really, really all about?
First of all, thank you. That's very nice of you to say that you like the song. The song itself, um, it was inspired by a moment in time when I was a teenager. I wanted a song that um, captured that feeling of being young with no worries, forming relationships, falling in love, but ultimately not a whole lot of responsibilities. So it's a really good time in your life, right? So I wanted a song that transported me back to that moment. And I wanted a song that felt quite nostalgic. And so the song G to G, the actual title, was inspired by, I'm not sure if you remember or if you used the platform MSN Messenger.
Oh yeah, I didn't
So
use
back,
it though, but I
yeah,
do know it.
so that just shows my age. But so MSN Messenger here in Australia, so that when we started using it, I was, 15, 16 years old. And we used to abbreviate a lot of the words. So whenever you're chatting to friends, you would
Yeah.
abbreviate, a sentence. So one of the abbreviations that we used to use was G to G. And for us, it meant got to go. So like, I have to go now, G to G.
Yeah.
So that was the inspiration behind the title. But yeah, the song's all about young love, experiencing life as a teenager. Um, at the time, the OC, the TV show, the OC,
Yeah.
again, not many people probably know this, but the OC was a very big show back then. And yeah, it just reminds me of that time. And I just wanted to capture that feeling, that nostalgic feeling of being young again.
Very nice. But how would you describe this song G to G in 3 words?
Three words.
Yeah.
Mm, oh, I would say young, free, and love.
Wow. Young friend love. What a I love it. Now this song is a part of your upcoming EP Cold Rush, right? Now what can you tease us about your upcoming album, and how excited are you for it to be publicly listened to by your fans?
I'm super excited about my upcoming EP. It's quite a long EP. I think it's almost an album. It's 7 songs, and it's an EP dedicated to my hometown, Ballarat, where I grew up in Australia. Um, it's about an hour and a half away from Melbourne. It's
Yeah.
a small regional town, but yeah, it's essentially a dedication, a love letter to Ballarat and how it formed a lot of my it's made me the person I am today, and I wanted an EP that captured all the happy memories that I had growing up, because a lot of I experienced a lot of challenges growing up.
Yeah.
um, I wanted to highlight the positive things.
Incredible. Are you super excited for it to be publicly listened to by your fans?
Yeah, I'm very excited. I think for anyone familiar with my music and who's followed my journey, it is a little bit of a new direction. A lot of the EP leans more towards club music, so it is a lot
Uh-huh.
more up tempo,
Okay.
more dance. But then again, there are the softer side of the EP, such as G to G, and my next single, which is coming out at the end of the month, called Slow Dreams. Yeah, it's a nice contrast between high paced, high energy club music and then slower paced thinking music.
I can't wait for that song as well. uh, uh, Growing up, do you have any artists or musicians that you really looked up to, you know?
Growing up,
Yeah.
I listened to a lot more rock music and punk music. And it wasn't until, I left Ballarat and, I was in university and I started going to clubs that I started listening to dance music. But yeah,
Yeah.
I grew up listening to punk and rock music. And um, one of the biggest bands that inspired me growing up is an Australian band called Silverchair. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with Silverchair, but growing up, they were one of my favorite bands, and um, I think like they still influenced the music that I wrote even when I started writing dance music, because a lot of Silverchair's music is quite emotional, and so I attribute um, my music now as Juno Mamba to still be influenced by that, because a lot of my music is quite emotional.
Yeah, and then you're gonna have an upcoming tour around Australia, I think starting in August, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Uh, what aspect of performing live, do you find most I think most exhilarating,
I think nothing there's nothing quite like performing live in front of people that are there to see you,
yeah,
and connection and that energy that you share with the audience is really special. And you're stuck in a studio writing all this music for years and years, and then finally it's released, and then your listeners finally listen to the music that you've worked on, and then you get to experience that music together in a live environment is really cool.
yeah, and then how do the love and support from your fans influence your work as an artist and as a musician?
I think it's like when you're performing live, you get a
Yeah,
gauge what the crowd and the audience are really gravitating towards. You can see their
yeah,
energy. You can it just informs you next time when you write music. If you are writing music intended, if you're specifically writing like a song for the live environment, you can start to tailor certain things in the studio where you're like, oh, I remember this moment when I performed live and the crowd really enjoyed this
yeah,
particular moment, and so you can kind of create that with new music.
yeah.
Uh, yeah.
Uh, mm, yeah. How do you balance the creative process of producing music with with your agenda of touring and performing live? How do you balance that out?
I'm really bad at that. I try to keep those two things separate. Um, I know a lot of artists that are extremely talented and they can write music while they're touring. I've done this before, but I just prefer to separate those two things. Only because like my mind, when
Yeah,
I'm performing, when I'm touring, my mind is 100% focused on improving the show, uh, critiquing the
yeah,
show. What did I do wrong? How can I make it better for the next show? So my mind is just fully consumed by the live touring. And then similarly, when I'm in the studio, I'm not even thinking about like touring. So I try to keep those two things separate. But it is a challenge trying to balance.
uh, and yeah, I mean, uh, again, correct me if I'm wrong. But you are a Filipino-Australian, if I'm right.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you hope that your work and your approach to music will inspire others, and especially those who relate to your experience, maybe as an Asian Australian, or even an Asian American, or anyone else, really, you know.
Yeah. I think growing up, I didn't have a whole lot of people who were like me that I could look up to. That being a Filipino Australian creating electronic music or just music in general. Um, so there's it's a lot more common now for Filipino kids to grow up in Australia. So there's definitely more people for them to look up to. Not just me. There's a whole lot of Filipino musicians and artists here in Australia that are doing really well. But I think it's a really cool thing to be in this position where um, potentially there are young Filipino kids in Australia that can look up to me and can see a pathway to creating
Yeah,
music in Australia. And yeah, I guess that's a cool thing about my latest single, G to G. The artist that's singing on it, Mayari, she's actually a Filipino as well,
really.
who also creates electronic music and is in Australia.
Yeah,
So that's for me, that was super, super rare to find another electronic musician who was Filipino, um, who's female, because I was after a female vocalist. And so when I when I found her, I was like, I need to work with her. So yeah, you can see that there's definitely more of us around, which is cool for the next generation.
I love that. I really do love that. But then how do you manage to stay connected, with your root as an Asian, as a Filipino, and your personal experience and influence?
Um, Funny you asked me that because it's kind of, I'd say it's been a journey for me since probably 2019. Maybe 2017. So my grandma, my Lola passed away. I went back to the Philippines, reconnected with family, and from that moment, I was like, I have to come back like every year. Like it can't just be when a family member dies that I come back and meet hang out with everyone again and reconnect. So from that moment, I made an effort to go back to the Philippines every year. And then unfortunately COVID happened, so that stopped it for a few years. But more recently, probably the last 12 months, I've just been watching a lot of YouTube travel videos on the Philippines, and just learning more about the culture. Um, it's a wonderful, it's a really cool thing to be able to learn more about who I am and where I came from. And there's for anyone that's ever experienced it, who if say you were born in Asia and then you move to another country, there's nothing like going back for the first time. There's like this
Yeah.
feeling, it feels like you belong.
Yeah, of course, definitely. I mean, I've also experienced that. I mean, I was in the UK for like a couple of months, but then like going back to your country as well, it's just like it's so. I mean, it's different when you experience, going abroad and then going back to your roots. It's really cool to be connected again to your root. Uh,
Yeah.
uh, how do you see, you know, your music evolve in the future? Are there any new genres and styles that you are very, very interested to explore in the future, maybe?
Yeah, I think I think it'll always be electronic, but I think G to G is probably a good example of um, where I might take things. Because usually with my music, my previous releases have just been purely dance music, where it's less less of a formula, less structure. Um, Whereas G to G was one of the first songs where I really structured it in more of a traditional songwriting sense, where it's like verse, chorus,
Yeah.
bridge, chorus. And I quite enjoyed that process. It was hard because I was used to just making long dance music that's like 5 to 7 minutes long,
Yeah.
and then when I condense it into like a pop sort of structure, it's really challenging. But I really enjoy it, and I think yeah, working a lot more with vocalists, I can see that happening in the future. Um, yeah, but it's always going to be rooted in electronic music, in electronic production.
Perfect. Can you maybe can you walk us through your creative process when you make a new song? You must have like sometimes in your mind you must have like this creative differences in your mind. Even if you are alone, you must have some types of I want this, but no, this is not going to work. How do you approach your work and like creatively?
Yeah. Usually there's a few different ways I approach writing a song, but most of the time I always think of a theme, and I often come up with the name of the song and the idea of what I want it to mean. And then that helps inform me what sounds I want to use. So if I have a song, for example, when I thought of G to G, I knew I wanted it to sound nostalgic. I wanted the chord progression to provoke that emotion of
Yeah.
love, teenage, and it's like it's my interpretation of that. So it's not like there's no such thing as a chord progression that represents love and teenage years. But for me, I just know how it makes me feel. So that's how often how I write music is, yeah, I come up with a theme, I come up with a story, I come up with the idea, and then I start to fill in the blanks and like, okay, so if that's the case, this is the tempo of the song. And then I start to build the framework and be like, okay, this is how I want the drums to be. This is the bass, this is the chords, the synths, and then if I put vocals, that's
Yeah.
generally how I write my music. I have written music the other way where I just open up Ableton, which is the program I use, and I just experiment and I just start playing on drums. So I do it that way as well, but I feel like I have more of a connection to the music when I think of a theme and I think of the
Yeah.
story.
Uh, do you remember the first music or the first song or lyrics that you've ever written?
Um, yeah, when I was probably like the first proper thing that I wrote got recorded, I would have been 14, 15 years old. But yeah, I remember that. It's pretty bad.
Did anyone get the chance to listen to it, or did you
Uh,
just keep it to yourself?
yeah, it's not, it's in my Dropbox.
uh, and then do you ever feel like when you write or when you're about to write, you're almost manifesting things that are about to happen in any way, like when you're about to write something, you're like, should I go for it, or not? Should I be putting this here or there or something like that? Do you ever feel like that?
Um, Not so much. Something that I do sometimes is when I'm writing, I'm envisioning playing it live.
No.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll write a song and I'm picturing being on stage in front of a crowd and just sort of visualizing how it would go down. And like sometimes we're like, okay, I can see it, but it's not, the song's not hitting hard enough, or it's not peaking high enough. So I need to work on it a bit more. That's probably what I visualize the most, performing it live.
Do you have any unforgettable memories or experience from one of your live performances?
Um, Actually, one of my favorite moments was when I played in, I think it was Uluwatu a few years ago, um, at a beach club called Savai. Um, and I was playing, I didn't realize, like, I knew what time I was playing, but I didn't realize it would be sunset, like halfway through my set. And it was just this magical moment, performing my music, seeing the audience, and then the sunsetting behind me. That was just
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
this is cool, this is special.
That is really cool. Any plans, you're gonna get back to here to Indonesia, to Uluwatu maybe?
I'd love to. I love to. I'm putting it out there to anyone who listens to my music. Help me come over to Indonesia. It's one of my favorite countries to go
For
visit.
sure. I mean, we're neighbors. You can easily come here.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe this is one of the last few questions I have left for you. But do you have any dream collaborations? Any artists you'd love to work with in the future, maybe?
um, like ultimate,
Mm,
ultimate artist, or like a dream
a
collaboration.
dream,
Probably,
yeah.
yeah, probably say, I don't know, Chemical Brothers. That would be really cool.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. But anyone else? I mean, for the, not necessarily ultimate, but you know, anyone
Uh,
else.
mm, I'll throw a curveball. This one is not electronic, but I'd love to just hang out in the studio with John Mayer.
John Mayer, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
He was like one of my all time heroes when I was a kid. Because I played guitar, so that would be cool. And he's just an incredible musician.
Yeah. Uh, what are your hopes and dreams, for the future? Both personally and professionally as an artist.
Um, I think as an artist, I just want to continue to grow and continue to just be curious about music and continually improve. Um, as personally,
Yeah.
um, I think I just, yeah, I definitely just want to reconnect a lot more with where I come from.
Yeah.
Uh, um, that's really important to me. Just understanding the Filipino culture, understanding where I came from, and how that's shaped my life and why that makes me who I am. That's probably, yeah, number one.
I love that. That's really sweet. Any message for your fans out there who may be listening to
Uh,
it?
yeah, first, thanks for all the support to anyone who listens to my music. I really appreciate it. I appreciate all the messages that I get as well. I read all of them, and it makes me feel good. But yeah, I'm really excited for my upcoming EP, Cold Rush. Keep an eye out for it. It's out August 23rd. I have a new single coming out at the end of the month, so keep an eye out for that as well. And yeah, just stay in touch. Follow me on social media, Instagram, TikTok, Juno Mamba. And yeah, I'm on all the streaming platforms, so you can listen to my music on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, wherever. But yeah, I really do appreciate the support, and hopefully I can come back to Indonesia soon.
Hopefully, fingers crossed for that.
Yeah,
I'd really love to talk to you again some other time, maybe after the release of your EP.
yeah, Let's do it.
It's been such a lovely time talking to you. So thank you so much for that, man.
No worries.
Again, congratulations on the release of your song G2G, and I hope that we can get more songs of yours. And don't forget to wait. Don't forget to listeners. Don't forget to listen to G2G as well, and then wait for Juno Mamba's next song at the end of the month. And I can't wait for your upcoming album Cold Rush as well. Anyway, if you guys haven't listened to G2G, it's incredible. Just listen to it and on any streaming platforms. Stream now. Remember, and also our podcast is just one click away. All right. Thank you so much for joining us today. I really, really appreciate it, man. Best of luck for your tour and your album and your EP and everything that you are going to do in your life, both personally and professionally. I hope to talk to you again very, very soon. And then with that being said, it's our time to go. So bye-bye, guys. I'll see you later for our next episode. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks, mate.
Peace.